What's going on, Panthers fans? You're watching Panthers Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith. And on today's show, we're going to break down Fox Sports and their top 100 free agents for 2026 and what they have going on with your Carolina Panthers. A couple unrestricted free agents on Carolina's books fall on this list, and they have a couple of external signings for Carolina as well. Before we dive into this list, my boss has said we need to get 20 new subscribers on this video or else. They didn't tell me anything else after that, so please don't make me get in trouble with my bosses here at Chat Sports. Hit that subscribe button for free Panthers content all the time. We need 20 on today's video. All right, so on today's edition of Panthers Today, we're going to break down Fox Sports' top 100 NFL free agents for 2026. And with those 100 free agents, Fox also gave predictions on where each one would land. So we're going to react to the Panthers free agents that they got going on and an external signing that Fox Sports made for Carolina. Let's dive right into it, man. First, with Rachaad White, Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back, in-division rival. Our guy Greg over at Fox Sports has him signing with the Carolina Panthers, the number 70 out of 100 top free agents. Look, the Panthers are going to need another complimentary back next to Chuba Hubbard if they think that Rico Dowdle is going to skip town this offseason. So why not bring a guy who's kind of been in that mold for the last few seasons in Rachaad White, with him kind of teaming in and being in tandem with Bucky Irving down in Tampa. Here's what Greg Allman had to say on Rachaad White to Carolina. White, at 27 years old, is a versatile back who's averaged just over 1,000 yards from scrimmage and 50 catches a year in Tampa. He took a backseat to Bucky Irving and won't be returning, but could be the lesser end of a 1-2 punch. The Bucs have lost enough offensive coordinators that he could follow any of them, from Dave Canales in Carolina to Liam Cohen in Jacksonville and Josh Grizzard in Philadelphia. Anything over $5 million a year, though, feels like too much. Of 35 backs with 500-plus carries since 2022, he ranks 34th in yards per carry, only ahead of Kareem Hunt. And since 2022, those haven't been Kareem Hunt's peak athletic days. Rachaad White is not the most efficient back out there, but you're also not going to get Rico Dowdle back for $5 million, a deal that you could reach with Rachaad White here. And look, I think White's a really good player, man. I think he's a bit underrated in terms of when you look at the yards per carry and all that stuff. Like, he certainly provides a service in this league. He's a solid RB2. He does well in between the tackles, and he can also make plays in the open field as well. Like, he had 40 catches in 2025. He got in the end zone 4 times. Like, there was a stretch of a couple of weeks, and Bucky Irving was out for a long stretch during this season where, Rachaad White was one of the more reliable fantasy running backs that they had out there. But, hasn't really gotten to that 990-yard rushing mark that he had back in 2023. He's been sharing carries with Bucky Irving in Tampa Bay for the past 2 seasons. So he could be familiar with going after something similar with Chuba Hubbard here in Carolina. And like I mentioned, he provides really solid receiving work too for what would be this new Carolina running back room. Chuba Hubbard, he can be a receiving back. We saw him receive a bunch of targets from Bryce Young down the stretch of this season, but he's better suited as you're in between the tackles, north-south type of guy. Rachaad White, he could be a little more shifty out there in the flat or on some wheel routes that you might send him on, though. So as far as what SpotRack has him projected out as for a free agent deal, they got him at 2 years, $15.2 million. Now, Greg said something along the lines of $5 million a season. This is $7.5 million, and he says you're not going to really see a deal that exceeds that $5 million mark. I'd be cool bringing him in for $4 to $5 million to be the RB2, but for $7.5 million, I would pass on Rachaad White. Next up, no surprise, Rico Dowdle is going to show up on this list as well. Now, with Rachaad White coming to Carolina per Greg Allman, he doesn't have Rico Dowdle returning to the Panthers. They're number 57 free agent per Fox Sports, and it looks like Rico Dowdle, according to him, will be heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers, reuniting with Mike McCarthy, who coached him down in Dallas. Look, Rico Dowdle stated that he doesn't want to split carries anymore. He doesn't want to be a part of a running back competition like he was in Carolina, so there's an opportunity for him to go make some noise up north. Greg's saying this on Dowdle. Dowdle, just 27 as well, has had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the Cowboys and the Panthers, nearly identical years, within 3 yards and 1 carry of each other with the same exact number of catches. He had a lukewarm market a year ago and signed for $2.75 million with Carolina, but doubled his pay by cashing out another $2.75 million in incentives. Carolina, leading on Chuba Hubbard down the stretch, could have him signing elsewhere, and we think he will. Would Mike McCarthy like him for a Dallas reunion in Pittsburgh? See, my whole thing about this is like, if Rico Dowdle's coming out and saying he doesn't want to split carries in 2026, well, Pittsburgh wouldn't really be the place to go somewhere that you're not going to do that at. Like, wouldn't he be splitting carries with Jaylen Warren up with the Steelers? I don't know. Maybe Greg forgot that Jaylen Warren's a pretty damn good back in this league, and he's going to command the RB1 touches for the Steelers next season. Rico Dowdle will be sliding there at the RB too, so I'm not so sure that Pittsburgh will be a landing spot for him, but I don't think it will be with the Carolina Panthers either. After the 1,000-yard rushing season that he had, another guy who had, if you look at the game log for Rico Dowdle, there's a lot of those games that kind of inflate these stats a little bit. He was solid in the receiving game as well, but there were too many games on the schedule where we saw Rico Dowdle go for $150, 200 yards from scrimmage, and then the next week he would go for 40 yards from scrimmage. So it was a very up and down year for Dowdle, but the highlight moments were there, and the good outweighed the bad. I just don't think he has any intention of coming back to Carolina on a deal similar to the one that he signed last season, if the end result is just going to be him splitting carries with Chuba Hubbard once again. So the spot rack projection for Rico Dowdle is a little interesting to me because it's actually lower than Rachaad White's is. 2-year, $13.1 million for Rico Dowdle. I mean, if you ask me, am I going to bring back either one of these guys or bring in either one of these guys? It's going to be Dowdle over Rachaad White, just based on the price and the production that we've seen over each of the last 2 seasons. Dowdle's the better player, but that probably means he's going to want to play somewhere else, not behind Chuba Hubbard in 2026. Finally, on this list, Cade Mays, a guy who I would say is the most marquee free agent on the Panthers books this upcoming offseason, and Greg doesn't have him going back to the Carolina Panthers. He actually has him signing with the New York Jets. Now, kind of similar to Rico Dowdle here, like, if you ask me, why would anybody want to sign with the New York Jets? Like, you're going to get absolutely killed. The quarterback play is going to be horrible. So and he'll probably end up holding the ball too long. So you get credited for sacks that really shouldn't have gotten on your books. Like, I don't know why Cade Mays would be going to the New York Jets, especially when you consider the Panthers are going to have spending power this offseason. They're going to have the means to bring back Cade Mays. I'm surprised that Greg had him leaving Carolina on this list. But if he does, Panthers would need to find a new center some way, somehow. Here's what Greg had to say on Mays and free agency. Mays at 26 settled in with 12 starts in 2025 after totaling 15 in his first 3 years in Carolina. The Panthers are already heavily invested at guard, so if his market gets as high as some are projecting at $10 to $12 million a season, then Carolina might reset with a rookie at center and focus their limited cap space elsewhere. The cap isn't real, guys. They can make more moves. This year's center class in free agency, though, has a lot of good, not great options. So finding the right match in the middle tier financial range will be important. Look, if they're not going to sign Cade Mays, they're definitely not going to go out there and sign Tyler Linderbaum, the top center on the market this free agency cycle. They're probably not going to sign Connor McGovern, the second best center on the free agent market this cycle. So, look, man, I would bring back Cade Mays if you ask me. The Athletic went out there and said the Panthers view center as a priority, and they're also a team that wants to bring back the guys they have developed over the last few seasons, and Cade Mays is no exception there. The PFF grades are whatever. Honestly, like they're a little bit below average, but they're above average in the pass block game. He didn't allow any sacks. He was only penalized 2 times out of 726 snaps. Like, the guy's a freak. I don't understand why he's actually looked at as lesser or cheaper of an option than a Connor McGovern would be. The stats stack up pretty similar, if you ask me. Only 11 pressures in those 726 snaps. I mean, 3 QB hits. He wasn't penalized. Like, he was really damn good, and he's still very young at 26 years old. Like, he's still got a lot of tread left on those tires, especially when you consider he didn't play all that much through his first 3 years in the league. I would bring back Cade Mays. And when you think about it, if he's getting a $12 million a year deal, the Panthers have no excuse. Like, you absolutely have to go out there and bring your top center back. I know they're invested heavily at guard. But 3 years, $36 million is not the 5-year, $100 million deal that you gave out to Robert Hunt or the big-time deal that you gave out to Damian Lewis. This is a bargain for a position that you're going to need to have shored up with Bryce Young, not being the best quarterback in the NFL. He thrives when he is protected and is in a clean pocket. I'd bring back a guy in Cade Mays who did that for him in 2025. What do you guys think? Should Carolina bring back Cade Mays in free agency? Should they re-sign him? S for sign, P for pass. Comment down below what you guys think. All right, so there weren't any splash signings per Greg Allman via Fox Sports here for Carolina. So I wanted to just let you guys know before we wrapped up today's show where the top 5 free agents are landing per Greg and his list. So he has the number one free agent being George Pickens at wide receiver. He gets franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys. Seems like that's what's going to happen here. It doesn't take a real fortune teller to figure that one out. Daniel Jones resigns with the Colts, kind of same deal. They need a quarterback. He needs to go get paid, and it's Daniel Jones. Somehow, some way, he's still going to get $25 million out of the Indianapolis Colts. Devin Lloyd, that one pisses me off. They say he resigns with the Jaguars. It's not going to be easy for Jacksonville to go out there and re-sign Devin Lloyd here. I think he ends up going elsewhere, and I think Carolina, no joke, is one of the top landing spots for Devin Lloyd in free agency. Trey Henderson, another guy who I would target, no doubt about it. Panthers pass rush is brutal. They have him signing with the Chicago Bears, and he's a Midwest guy. He may end up wanting to go to one of the contenders in that region of the country. Look no further than Chicago for him. And Tyler Linderbaum, they got him signing with the New York Giants, reuniting with head coach John Harbaugh, who went from Baltimore to New York there. I wouldn't make that big of an investment at center when you got a guy homegrown, Cade Mays, who's going to make half of what Tyler Linderbaum will make on the open market. That will do it for today's show. Make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/Panthers Today for the latest and greatest under Carolina Panthers all offseason long. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, keep pounding.